Imagine the following scenario. You wake up one beautiful day, pick up your phone to check the time, and the screen is black. You try to turn on the lights, but nothing happens. You think it might be a power outage, so you go out into the street and see people in a state of panic. Nothing is working. No one can work. Chaos quickly ensues. This is a scenario that could happen with the internet apocalypse. And according to NASA, it is very close to happening. But what can we do? Well, in today's video, you will learn more about the internet apocalypse, how it will happen, and what NASA's warnings are so that we can protect ourselves or at least mitigate the impacts of this disaster. But I recommend that you watch it as soon as possible because tomorrow the internet may no longer work. Welcome to our channel, where you can find the best videos about technology. Go ahead and hit the like button if you like the topic of this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. But what about you? Can you imagine a world without the internet? What do you think would happen to society? Leave your opinion in the comments. I really want to understand what you think about the subject. Without further ado, let's get to the video. Solar winds. Before we understand how the internet apocalypse will happen, we first need to know what solar winds are. Scientifically speaking, solar winds are streams of charged particles, mainly electrons and protons, emitted by the sun in all directions. Basically, these particles originate from the outer layer of the sun, known as the solar corona, where the temperature and pressure are high enough to allow for the ionization of atoms. Solar winds are characterized by high speed and relatively low density compared to other types of space plasma. There are two main categories of solar winds: slow winds, ranging from 400 to 500 kilometers per second, and fast winds that can reach up to 800 kilometers per second or more. These winds are influenced by the so-called solar cycle, which has an average period of 11 years. During the solar maximum, these winds become more intense, creating what we call solar storms. Solar winds have a significant impact on the space environment and the planets of the solar system. When the charged particles interact with the Earth's magnetic field, they can generate phenomena such as auroras and disturbances in the Earth's magnetosphere. This disturbance, in turn, has the potential to affect Earth's technology, especially communication systems and satellite infrastructure. During a solar storm, the sun releases large amounts of ejected radiation, along with charged particles, toward Earth. These particles can disrupt the planet's magnetic field and cause disruptions in high-frequency radio communications, affecting satellite communication systems such as those used for television broadcasts, radio, mobile telephony, and satellite internet. Solar storms can also interfere with long-distance power grids, leading to localized blackouts. Undoubtedly, a solar storm hitting Earth can cause unimaginable damage because it is impossible to predict which systems it will truly affect. However, NASA scientists try to understand and measure these solar winds to prevent possible catastrophes caused by a storm. To do this, they use a device called the Parker Solar Probe. The Parker Solar Probe, or Solar Probe Parker, is a space probe launched by NASA in August 2018 with the goal of studying the sun up close. It is the first space mission to venture into the solar corona, the outer layer of the sun that causes solar winds, and provide valuable information about the physics of the sun and the processes that occur in its atmosphere. The main mission of the Parker Solar Probe is to answer some of the fundamental questions about the sun, such as why the solar corona is much hotter than the sun's visible surface and how the solar wind is accelerated. The probe is equipped with a set of scientific instruments designed to measure magnetic fields, charged particles, solar winds, and solar radiation. These instruments provide detailed data on the properties of solar plasma and the environmental conditions near the sun. To date, the Parker Solar Probe has already made several successful approaches to the sun, providing a significant amount of scientific data. One of these approaches was responsible for NASA's warning about the internet apocalypse. What happened was that the Parker Solar Probe identified a solar spot 4 times the size of the Earth, causing great concern among scientists and bringing an unexpected alert that could have irreversible consequences. This spot could cause the largest geomagnetic event ever seen on Earth, even bigger than the previous one. Yes, planet Earth has already experienced a solar storm before, in an event known as the Carrington event. The solar storm of 1859, also known as the Carrington event, was one of the largest ever recorded in history and is named in honor of British astronomer Richard Carrington, who observed and documented it. On September 1, 1859, a massive solar eruption occurred on the surface of the sun, followed by a coronal mass ejection, or a burst of charged particles and radiation was launched into space. This coronal mass ejection from the sun reached the planet Earth about 17 hours later, causing an immense geomagnetic storm. The effects of the Carrington event were notable at the time, particularly in telegraph communications. Telegraph lines in various parts of the world were affected, with sparks flying through the wires, interruptions in communications, and abnormal operation. Even when disconnected from the power source, operators could still send messages using only the energy from the geomagnetic storms. Additionally, auroras were observed in various parts of the world, including at lower latitudes than usual. The auroras borealis were seen in countries like Chile, parts of the Caribbean, and even in Florida, USA. But at that time, the storm did not cause significant damage because the technology was not as advanced as it is today. If a similar event to the Carrington event were to occur today, it would certainly have a much greater impact on modern society and technological infrastructure. That is why NASA is warning about the possible internet apocalypse, as there are indications that a new solar storm, larger than the Carrington event, could occur. As a result, all the technology we currently rely on would be damaged and impaired for days, months, or even years. Some experts claim that our current society could regress to the Middle Ages, as everything we do now depends on the internet. Chaos will be unleashed, and a true apocalypse could occur, as the consequences go far beyond what we initially imagined. The consequences. At first, we might think that this alert of a possible internet apocalypse by NASA is an exaggeration. After all, the solar storm will only affect technology and not cause any harm to humans. And while it may be inconvenient to have technology affected, it is not as apocalyptic because humans have lived for millennia without the technological devices that exist today. But the real problem is that the issue goes much further than that. This internet apocalypse will affect our entire lives in unimaginable ways. Certainly, humans will not be annihilated by the solar storm, but the banking, industrial, food, and transportation systems will never be the same. And that, indeed, can be a true apocalypse for modern humanity. The first problem lies in large-scale communication systems. Communication satellites used for mobile telephony, TV broadcasts, and satellite internet could be damaged by intense radiation. This would result in disruptions of global communication services, making communication difficult or impossible in certain areas. Emergency communication and disaster response systems would be particularly affected. In summary, the solar storm would occur, and we wouldn't even be aware of it, as no media vehicle would be able to inform us about what happened. The electrical infrastructure is also vulnerable to an intense solar storm, as the electrical currents induced by the storm could cause transformer failures and widespread power outages. This could lead to large-scale blackouts, leaving extensive areas without electricity for days, weeks, or even months. Furthermore, repairing the damaged electrical infrastructure would be a significant challenge, as manufacturing new transformers and components would take time. Current banking and financial systems heavily rely on technology and the internet for electronic transactions, fund transfers, and data processing. An event on the scale of the Carrington event could interfere with these operations, causing disruptions in payment systems, failures in electronic transactions, and loss of financial data. In other words, you might have money in the bank, but you wouldn't be able to withdraw, transfer, or use it during the apocalypse. However, the most concerning aspect would be the food supply chain, which heavily relies on efficient transportation, logistics, and communication systems. Disruptions in transportation and communication systems would hinder food distribution, resulting in astronomical food scarcity and price increases, if we could even afford them, since our money would be effectively wiped out from the banking systems. Moreover, the lack of electricity could lead to malfunctions in the refrigeration and storage systems for perishable foods. The internet apocalypse will not only prevent you from accessing your favorite websites or social media platforms, it would be responsible for literally resetting society as we know it and taking us back to a period similar to the Middle Ages. For these and other reasons, an internet apocalypse is such an alarming prospect that even NASA is warning about the possibility of it happening. What can we do? With an event of this magnitude, there is nothing that humanity can truly do, and if it does happen, all that can be done is to rebuild society after the damage has been caused. However, Earth has been threatened by a solar storm in the past, as this solar eruption occurs every 11 years. In reality, the most recent one was in 2012, when a similar event occurred that fortunately did not reach Earth. Perhaps this is what the Mayans predicted could happen. The probability of an event of this magnitude hitting the planet is still uncertain, but what we know is that the last time it reached Earth was in 1859, and now all we can do is hope that a similar event does not occur. But what do you think could happen? Do you believe that we are close to the internet apocalypse and that our lives will never be the same again? Or is this just another prediction of the end times that fortunately will not come true, and our lives will continue as normal? Leave your response in the comments. I really want to know your opinion on this matter. Thank you very much for watching this far. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and make sure to activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates here on our channel. Big hugs, and see you in the next video.